Hey everybody, Mr. Riedl here. In this video today, I am going to show you how to make your own name tag pencil holders just like these. Okay, so I want to start off by giving credit where credit is due, and I did not originally think of this idea. The person that I got this idea from, her name is Pamela Kennedy, and she also teaches in Portland here, and I will put links to her Twitter and TeacherPayTeacher accounts down in the description below. Some of you may have already seen these in the classroom tour video that I filmed a couple months ago, and I've been getting quite a few requests on how to make these or where you could get them, and I actually haven't found anything like these in the stores or online. I got this idea from Pamela. She made them with her husband, and so I just took her design and I made it something similar to what I wanted. She actually didn't paint hers, she left hers wood, and what I did is I painted mine white. What I did is I went to Home Depot and I went to the lumber aisle and I looked for long pieces of board. This used to be a long piece of board. This is a 3/4 of an inch by 2.5 inches. And it's called trim board, and it was already painted white when I got it. What I did is I took that board and I went over to my dad's, and my dad has all the power tools that I needed. The length of these is 4 inches, and I knew that if I wanted these to be about 4 inches, then I calculated about how many pieces that I needed for the length. So the first step is what I did is I took these long pieces of wood, I think they're about 8 feet long, and I cut the groove first using a table saw. So I used the table saw, and as you can see, it's not completely perfect. Like, there's a little bit of a groove in there, and I'm very type A, so I wanted it perfect, but I couldn't get it perfect, especially on all of them. So this is a little less than a 1/4 inch depth for the groove, and so what I did is I just cut it lengthwise along the whole length of the 8-foot board at this space away from the edge. And so I did, I think, 2 or 3 cuts, because the width of the blade is not this width, it's more narrow. So I cut it lengthwise that way, and then again a little bit further away from the edge, and then again a little bit further away from the edge, just enough so that I could fit a pencil into it. And so I actually took a pencil and I measured it and I said, okay, that looks good. I don't want it to be too tight so that the pencil doesn't move, but I also don't want it to be too wide either so that the pencil would stay put. So I found the right width that I liked for the pencil, and then I did that for the other board. I think I had 2 boards for all of them, 2 or 3. I did this last year, I can't remember exactly. Once I got those grooves cut, then I had these long boards with these grooves cut in them. So now what I need to do is chop them into 4-inch segments. And so I used my dad's miter saw, and the miter saw is the one that chops down, and you can angle it so that it's at a perfect 90-degree angle so that it looks good. And so I just took one and I measured 4 inches and chopped, measured 4 inches, chopped, measured 4 inches, chopped. That was pretty much it. And then I just needed to kind of sand these edges down a little bit. The other thing is that the pieces of wood that I got were painted white on the outside of the wood, but when I chopped it, it was... I have a bunch left over from last year, so you can actually see what it looks like. This is what it looks like when it was cut. It's not white. You can see here that this groove is not perfect here because that cut wasn't perfect, so I didn't use this one for my students last year. This is just a backup just in case. You can see that this was pretty nasty when I got it, and when I was handling it, it needed to be repainted. So I got some of this paint here. It's a glossy acrylic paint, and it was pretty cheap. I think I only needed 1 bottle for the whole thing, for everything. So I just painted like 3 layers of paint, I think, especially on the side here. This is where it really needed to be painted well. Yeah, and so that's pretty much it for painting. So I had a bunch of these blocks. I had to figure out, okay, yeah, I have pencils. That's something else that Pamela had a great idea to do, is to put the kids' names on the pencils, because then the kids would all know which pencil is theirs. And the system that I do for pencils is that they can't bring their own pencils in. I provide the pencils. One of the biggest frustrations that I have as a teacher is when a kid is sharpening a pencil and that pencil will not sharpen because it's a piece of crap pencil that the lead just keeps coming out of. And, you know, one of those cheap pencils. Ticonderoga pencils are awesome because they sharpen so well. They get a nice point and they're just high quality. So pencils go here, and then the cool thing about having this extra space right here is that they can put an eraser here. Since they get a new pencil every 2 weeks, most of them use up the eraser really fast. So often they like to use big erasers for big mistakes. So that's that, and then I wanted to make these unique to my classroom, so I got a font online that was free that is in the shape of Pez letters because I wanted to go with my Pez theme in my classroom. What I did is I printed out all of these on cardstock, and then what I did is I colored it because it's a black and white font, so I colored each of the letters in with a different color, kind of like the Pez logo. I printed it on both sides so that you could see it from either direction. I had to figure out how to attach it to the back of the block of wood. I decided last year to use thumbtacks, and I put these into the back of the wood. And the nice thing is that this wood is pretty soft, so the thumbtack just went right in, one on each end. However, the problem with this is that when some of my students were moving their name tags around, they take these and move them around to where they want to sit each Friday. A lot of the boys especially would like grab it like this, and then they would carry it to wherever they wanted because they wanted to be quick and easy, and it's easy to grab that. So the thumbtacks would eventually wiggle out, and then that would be a problem because then there'd be thumbtacks on the floor, and a couple times in the year we were like on our hands and knees trying to find a thumbtack on the floor. I think what I'm going to try next year is to do screws. I'll probably just buy some either white screws if I can find them, or just regular screws and that are tiny, and then maybe I might paint a little white on the screw if it bothers me to have a silver screw there. So I don't really know. The nice thing about these is that you don't really see them very often. Usually you have one name tag holder with their name tag here, and then you put it like against each other, so then you wouldn't see them. Usually one is sitting across from the other. Honestly, thumbtacks work pretty well. Most of the students did not yank them out, but I think for my students I'm gonna have to do something a little bit more secure. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys like them. I sure do. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions, and you can type those in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer them. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you later.